of course, won by Mr. Antonelli, and it was a really fun day here. Did you enjoy it today?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been great to be part of Sandown, the Imperial Cup Day. We're a little bit sad that we haven't got a horse going on to win.
You're sad that you haven't had to pay out 100 grand?
No, we'd like to see it. We'd like to.
Funny world, Brad.
No, we genuinely would like to see a horse going on to go for the 100 grand. But we will come back next year, hopefully bigger and better, and maybe raise the bonus even more and try and get some Irish connections over. Fantastic.
Can you just tell people, I'm sure everyone does know, but for those that don't know, what is Matchbook? What have you got on offer next week?
Yeah, so Matchbook's a betting exchange. It's peer-to-peer, so you're betting against yourselves, essentially. What we are offering next week and have been doing for the last month or so is 0% commission. So exchanges make money by commission. We're offering 0%, and what that gives to you really is the best value in the market. You'll get the biggest prices with no commission to pay. So, you know, if you want to get a top price on a horse, back it with Matchbook.
Okay. Any bankers next week? Do you think Mike Bite's going to win the Gold Cup?
You
have to say yes because the trainer's there.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I backed him in the King George and love to see him go on to win at the Gold Cup.
Oh, that's interesting. Elgin's going to win the Champion Hurdle as well. Fantastic. Yeah, superb. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Brad from Matchbook. Make sure you sign up with them for the Cheltenham Festival next week, 0%. And we're going to get underway with the preview now. So get your pens at the ready, your phones out, whatever it may be. Hopefully lots of winners coming your way. We're going to start with the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle. You can see the prices on your screen there. And we'll start with the Irishman on the panel, Emmett Kennedy, because in Get a Bird we have a 15-8 market leader, Emmett. The vibes in Ireland that this will emulate the likes of Faheen, Douvan, Vitor, Champagne Fever, and get Willie and Ruby's festival off to a flyer.
By the way, first of all, thanks for bringing me on last and then getting me to talk first. No pressure whatsoever alongside the champion trainer, Alan King, and the champion jockey. Cheers for that. Appreciate it.
Nicky Henderson's the champion trainer, Emmett.
That's what I said, the champion trainer.
No, you said Alan King.
No, I said the champion trainer.
Oh, right,
Alan
sorry.
King and the champion jockey. You do realise we're sharing the TV next week?
Sorry.
This is not off to a good start for the opening.
Use a comma next time, please, Emmett.
Ollie, you're going to be very difficult tonight, aren't you?
Right, to get a bird, yeah, the vibes are strong, but the fact is that he's 13-8, he's 2.06 on Matchbook right now. He's a shorter price than Vitor and Douvan were. But that being said, it's after the 14 millimeters of rain today, I think it's going to really play into his favour. I know that the talking horse, or even the wise guy horse, has been Kalashnikov. Patrick Mullins made a very interesting comment at a preview night recently. He said, we've got 5 novice hurdlers at home that would absolutely batter Bleu Rouge. So on a line through him, he seems to be thinking that Next Destination and Get a Bird would be more than capable of getting this job done. The vibes are very strong on the preview circuit for him. I hope he drifts to a bigger price. I think he will on the day. Obviously 0% commission with Matchbook, cha-ching. And I think he'll get us off to a winning start. I really do.
Are you paid per plug out of interest, or?
I am paid 5% per plug.
Okay, brilliant. Well done. You're off to a good start, Emmett. Thank you for that. Nicky, you've got Claiming taking Forgan in the race. Beaten at Musselburgh last time out. What chance in the opener?
You can ignore Musselburgh. They're not surprisingly 2 different tracks. Ground would be a bigger concern. Otherwise, up until then, he was very good. I mean, he actually touched the front in the bumper, the champion bumper last year, and just finished 4th, and I thought he was a weak horse then. Ignore Musselburgh, but don't ignore the ground. That would be my biggest concern. I mean, I think Get a Bird has looked good. I still think it's not a great Supreme, I must admit. I don't think, I mean, Get a Bird looks good, but they're not a great bunch. This horse would be competitive, but very soft ground would be against him.
Just as a general point, because the weather there was 14 millimetres of rain overnight. The growing is soft, heavy in places. The update came through from Cheltenham today. All through the year, you hear trainers say, this horse wants better ground, looking forward to the festival. We think, certainly on the first few days, going to have a soft ground festival to kick things off. How frustrating is that for a trainer, given your targets are with better ground horses, the festival, obviously?
Well, I think we're sort of starting to look at the team, and it was a week ago, because Simon Clace has been saying all along that apart from moving 200 tons of snow off the racecourse, which amazingly they've taken off the takeoffs and landings, and actually had to take it to the whole way to the bottom, so it didn't just all wash down and soak in. So they've obviously done a hell of a job, but unfortunately they had that rain last night, which we didn't want because it was just starting to dry out nicely. I think we're always going to say, whatever race we're going to come to tonight, we're always going to be saying, yes, but we're going to prefer it one way or the other. It will start soft. It's bound to. I'm hoping a couple of dry days. I know Al and I are both going to walk the course tomorrow morning. We'll have
Do you walk it together?
We normally
that
do.
was actually that was genuinely a serious question for once.
Well, we're not going to hold hands.
It wasn't a great one, but it was a serious one.
Maybe Paul Nichols will come and join us. We'll do it as a threesome.
Can we put that on Facebook Live as well, please, Nick? So ground a worry for your lad. Claiming taking.
Claim and taking. He's quite decent. He's respectable. I don't think it's the strongest Supreme. So okay. I think he has his chances. But it was soft enough in the bumper last year, I think, wasn't it?
Mm.
So I mean, you wouldn't rule him out. But I'm not going to say he's not the next Altior at the moment, and he'll be thereabouts.
Dickie, will you ride Western Rider in the race?
Yeah, I think Western Rider runs in this race now. We were, when the ground was going to, well, we all presumed again you'd get good ground come the festival. We thought that the Ballymore was going to be probably more the race to suit him, but I think the way the ground is, he's going to run this race. Obviously, if you go back to when he won at Cheltenham just before Christmas, Somerville Boy was just behind him, or Somerville Boy, and I think that form is quite decent. What would worry me is it was very, very testing. He got completely lost in the ground here in the Tolworth, and he didn't act at all on it. But I'm hoping the first race on the first day we'll get, even if it's slow ground, obviously it's not going to be raced on for a long time, so we'll have decent ground. And I think 33 to 1, he's actually a very big price. 6 in the bumper last year. He's a very decent horse. So for me, like I say, I can't quite understand why Somerville Boy is 10 to 1. He won the Tolworth. He'll handle a softer ground as it is. I think he looks good value, really. I don't know how good the favourite is, but obviously all the right people seem to think he's the one to beat.
How much are you personally and the lads and lasses in the weighing room looking forward to getting Cheltenham underway now?
There's a lot big build up to it. It's getting bigger every year, I think. But it's I think you go there with, I've got probably 5 or 6 I think really good rides, and you hope that they can go there and show as good as they are, and get a bit of luck in running and everything else. And it's very, very hard. I don't care who you, even at Ruby Walsh, to get a winner at Cheltenham is. Look, you have to matter how good you think your horse is before you get there. It's very, very hard, and it's however good your rides are, to get a winner is difficult. So if you can get one, it's a great start, and then you can really enjoy the rest of it.
Do you get nervous on the way to the start for the Supreme? We always go on about that amazing Cheltenham Roar. I know you're an experienced old hand now in the weighing room, but you still get those butterflies.
Yeah, just because you're not that old, it doesn't matter.
I've only just started shaving, Dickie. So.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, it was one of those toy razors. So I don't think it counted. But
look, I think again you get I say nervous, you get apprehensive that again everything's going to go right. There's a lot at stake. Every trainer, every owner, everyone wants to go to Cheltenham and do well, and so you just want to get a good start. Of every race, you want the race to unfold as you hope, and you want your horse to perform. So it's there's a lot of pressure in a good way, but you still want to get it right.
Right. Selections then in the Supreme. Emmett, we'll start with you. Who do you like?
Get a Bird to get us off to a flyer.
Get a Bird. Nicky?
I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think he's probably the best of the Brits, and that was a fairly good. For a novice to win, the Betfair Hurdle is good. I think he's the one.
Alan, no runners in the race for you, but do you have a view in the race?
Well, I might run Scarlet Dragon, but you haven't bothered asking me about him. But
Ollie, he's getting a bit upset. You want to be nice.
It's been a long day, Alan. I'm very sorry. It's off to a flying start for me. Alan, sorry, we'll start again. Tell me about Scarlet Dragon in the race.
Well, he doesn't run. He's very unlikely to run. I just think it's come too soon from Kempton. He's a little.
Does
bit
he not
flat.
actually run?
I don't think he'll run now.
Fantastic. I got away with that one.
But it would have been nice to have been asked the question, rather, you know. I think Get a Bird, he might be the real deal, but we've seen a lot of these short prize favourites in the past, and quite a few of them get turned over. Never been left-handed, I don't think. Slight question mark there, and I think he's very short. So I would be Somerville Boy each way. I think a bit of value there. He'll go on the ground. I think it's sure to be very testing on Tuesday, and he's proven himself on testing ground round here. So I thought at 10, 12 to 1, he would be a good each way bet.
And Dickie, you wouldn't be shocked, I'm reading between the lines, if Western Rider got into a place or indeed won the race.
Yeah, no, I think he definitely goes there with a live each way chance, and I think he's too big a price for, you know, he's got the form in the book. He's got an official handicap mark of 146. And if he was going there off the back of his Cheltenham win in December, I would think he'd be 10 to 1. So I can't see why he should be a bigger price, and I think the one thing he'll do is stay well. Which again, if the ground's very testing, you're going to, from the second last to the winning post is going to be a long way. That's
the race that kicks it off. I'm sure, like us at ITV and every racing fan up and down the country, you cannot wait for that race to get underway. That's on the Tuesday. The second race is the Arkle. Disappointing news for Alan and his team regarding So Royale earlier in the week. Alan, I'll start with you with the prices behind us. Footpad, the 11 to 8 favourite. Your horse in the betting was the fourth favourite, but fairly prominent in the betting. Did you look at the Arkle, for all that Footpad, Petit Mouchoir and St Calvados have achieved a lot, thinking we can beat these horses with So Royale? Did you think that it was perhaps a little bit more open than the market is giving it credit for?
Well, we've thought all the way through it was a very open race, and I think it's a very good renewal as well. Obviously, it's unfortunate that So Royale can't make it, but in hindsight, with the ground as testing, I'm not sure we'd have seen him at his very best anyway. So, he'll wait for another day. Footpad has looked really good, obviously, in his 3 runs in Ireland. It's going to be very, very strongly run, and you could easily see one or two of these cutting their throats. I would imagine St Calvados is going to bowl out. Footpad's been handy in all of his races. And if they just go too quick on this ground, it could be set up for something coming from behind. And we're interested to see what Nicky says in a moment. But obviously, Brain Power? Sorry, yeah. He's had a wind up. He's a class horse, and he was giving Undersoa a fair old run at Ascot. I just feel it could be set up for something that settles in behind and comes late. Fascinating race.
Nicky, talk to us about Brain Power. Reports are that he's working really well at Seven Barrows. He is, by design, he is a good workhorse, isn't he?
Yeah, he always has been. And even we were going into the Champion Hurdle last year. I'm not sure something went wrong there. I think I've trained him rather differently. I've sort of backed off him now the last few weeks, or the last week, and have him very fresh. But on the other hand, you can say he was too fresh in the Champion Hurdle last year. He was far too keen over the first 2, and he got no cover, and he never settled. He never ran his race, things have not gone his way this year. I mean, he won very easily the first time. Then he got too free here and unseated at the last when he would have been second in the Henry VII. And then he fell at the second last behind So Royal, but he was making a noise, so we've had a wind operation. That's sorted. The ground would be a concern. He's a very talented horse, but he is seriously good. I mean, he's got a lot of ability, but getting him to channel the ability in the right place is not easy. So I'd be hopeful. He'll love the pace of the race. That'll suit him. That's the one thing he has in his favour. If you go to sleep and let them get on with it up front, as Alan says, they could go headlong, in which case that could help us.
Dickie, tactics of this race are fascinating. From a jockey's point of view, when you look at the potential makeup of how this race will unfold, which horse would you like to ride?
I've been very impressed with St Calvados. I rode in the race that he won around Newbury, and I thought he went very quick. And I probably stupidly thought there's no way they can keep going. And he kept going and actually picked up, and he won well. And obviously was very impressive at Warwick as well. His jumping is very neat and good. And for me, he's the one horse in the race, because we haven't seen that much of him. We don't really know how good he is. He looks very good to me. And I don't think he has to make it, but I think he's forward going. It'll be interesting to see Petit Mouchoir. If I was told the other night that he was having a bit of a schooling session at Leopardstown the last day because he had a long break, and they would ride him a lot more positive than it. But I think they were hoping the ground would be good. For me, I think he needs good ground. And Footpad, obviously Ruby will ride him, and I think it'll be interesting if the other two do want to go very fast. I could definitely see Ruby trying to.
Has Ruby ever ridden him?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
This year?
No.
Darryl rode him
No
in
rubber
2
fences,
starts.
no.
Yeah.
But he at Leopardstown, he jumped brilliant. Like he was mega. But I think very soft ground probably is a key to him. And if it's soft stroke heavy, I think he's got a great chance. But if I could ride a horse, it'd be St Calvados. I think he's after the race he could be they were thinking about a champion chase.
Really? Well,
He looks like he's got a very, very good profile, and he looks like he hasn't really been tested. And
the time of the Kingmaker was exceptional as well. So.
He looks like he finds it easy, which is always a good sign.
Is this going to go the way of England or Ireland, do you think, Emmett?
I think we're going to win it. Not that I'd be biased or anything like that. Just to deal with St Calvados, he's only been beaten once out of 7 starts, and that was when Jacques Ricou was on his back. So I presume we just took him on a trip to Paris, which meant that he had absolutely no chance that day. Look, he's been very, very good, and he's going to be a huge danger to the horse that I think is becoming banker material. A couple of weeks ago, when the preview circuits really started to kick into full gear, a lot of people were talking about how Footpad was the lay of the festival. Oh, he's too short a price. The pace is going to be too hot.
He did drift, didn't he?
He's drifted to too big a price.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with him. He's now 2.46 on Matchbook, which is industry best price. That's insane. He's 3 from 3. The thing I love about him is when the stable tours were being done at the start of the season, nobody was talking about Footpad. Nobody going to the William Mullins press day was asking him, including Oz, to be fair. And
were you there when you were in the bar?
I was in the bar. I was eating the lobster. They just give you scones at one. There's no proper gravy there at all. But nobody talked about him. And then he turned up at Navan and bolted up. And that 16-1 for the Arkle kind of hung around there for a lot. I'm sorry I didn't take it. And he's just looked exceptional. He's really foot perfect. And I think the really interesting thing with him is if you're going to be looking at a short price favourite on day one, this is the one to be backing. Like, he's got stamina. He's got speed. He jumps brilliantly. Petit Mouchoir, it was nightmarish stuff what he did in the first and the second. And maybe he was fresh. But you might argue he was better than Footpad over hurdles. But Footpad's a far better chaser than he was a hurdler. I think this is pretty simple. I think he wins.
Okay, interesting stuff. Emmett there mentions the preview circuit, which really have gathered momentum in recent years. We are getting towards the end of them. This is one of the final ones. It started for me by doing a preview in front of 12 people at the casino in Coventry, which was fairly low, especially when 2 left at half-time. But
we haven't got to half-time yet, Ollie.
So that's the Arkle. Let's turn our attentions to the Champion Hurdle. Nicky has the favourite, as I mentioned, of the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase and the Gold Cup. It's a huge week for you, Nicky. Bouvedere is 8 to 15. You're a multiple festival winning trainer. Every preview that we have been on, everyone says that this horse is banker material, the banker of the meeting. I know that you will have elements of trepidation in your answer, but when you look at the field taking him on, is this, barring any severe accident, another Champion Hurdle for Bouvedere?
Well, except there's no such thing as a banker. You cannot have one. Here is one that at least I can say the soft ground isn't going to worry him, and that's the one thing we have in our pocket that doesn't concern us. He loves it. I can't. Listen, everything's gone perfectly right. He didn't. The only thing he hasn't had is a very testing season. It wasn't by design, but the Fighting Fist was pretty straightforward. The Christmas Hurdle was, and he came here, and I've just had to throw quite a lot of work at him. He then had a gallop at Kempton after racing with Mike Bite and Tienval, and he did his last bit of work this morning and yesterday morning, and it's been great. I mean, touch wood, and I mean it, I really do. Everything has to go right, and it's not that easy. It's never that easy.
Can you compare what form he's in this time round to 12 months ago?
We've been lucky so far that it's been a pretty straightforward preparation, and those sort of things don't happen very often, so there's still 3 days to go for anything to happen to go wrong. But he's been good. My tent's still there. He honestly will want better ground. We are going to run 4
Normally Aidan O'Brien does that in the Derby when he doesn't have a clear-cut one, but it would appear you've got a clear-cut one.
No, we will run. Verdana Blue will run, Charlie Parks will run, and My Tent or Yours will run.
Is that because you think there's an opportunity for decent prize money in second and third?
There's decent prize money. Verdana Blue, they're very keen to run. I might have said the Mare's Hurdle might have been a better race for her. I mean, how many runners do you see there being?
It's going to be small field. It's going to be a very small field. That's
Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, if it's a small field, Verdana Blue could finish 4th or 5th at a Champion Hurdle. If she could pick up 3rd and imagine what it does to her pedigree. Charlie Parks, as you know, I've always thought was a good horse. Tent deserves to win one, and he's been second in 3 Champion Hurdles and a Supreme. Luckily, he did win the International this year before Christmas, so he got a lucrative reward, which he deserves. And I think last year when we beat him ourselves, and it was JP as well, that, you know, we both went straight to Tent afterwards. He'd run such an amazing race that we actually felt criminal beating him with our own horse. But this time you'd probably say, look, I love him dearly, but, mate, at 11 years old, the young buck really needs to try and defend his crown.
Dickie, what do you make of the race?
I was just wondering if Nicky's got jockeys for all his horses.
He's been sobbing for the last half hour that he hasn't got a ride in the race. No.
But no, I think, look, Bouvardere, I can't, however you look at the race, he just looks like, as long as he gets he jumps well and everything else, I can't see how, obviously the ground for him isn't really an issue. I think he'll be an impressive winner. I can't see how he can get beat. But I think My Tent or Yours, I'm actually amazed he's still 10-1. He's got the form in the book. You could say, he's getting older, but he won the International, so, on soft ground. So I can't see how he can't finish second or third. So I know you could say if you take Bouvardere out, it's not a strong renewal, but you try winning a Champion Hurdle, it's very hard. So for me, Bouvardere will win, but I think the value is in My Tent or Yours.
Alan, you've won the race in the past, of course, with Catch It. You've got Elgin here, which you supplemented. Did Call Me Lord's performance, who you beat convincingly in the Kingwell, did his performance in today's Matchbook Imperial Cup sort of further vindicate your decision to supplement him in the race? Does that enhance your confidence of his chances?
Well, it certainly didn't do any harm, but I think just looking at the ratings, I think we're the 3rd or 4th highest rated in the race officially. We've got Bouvardere on 169, and the interesting horse is Faheen. Now, whether he can come back to his best, we don't know, but he's the big danger to Nicky's horse, if there is one, I think. He is still officially rated 169. There was a glimmer of hope that he ran better last time. But, I mean, Elgin's now on 161, so there was nowhere else to go, and if we can sneak a 3rd or 4th, we'll be absolutely thrilled. But it does have the smacking of a... I think this is... everyone says there's no such thing as a banker, but I really did think that Bouvardere was one of them, and the ground, Nicky, was certainly not an issue with him, is it, at all?
No.
He loves that. And
that's not going to be
probably one of the quickest jumpers of a hurdle I've ever seen. Sometimes it just frightens me a little bit how quick he goes from A to B, but I think he's, barring accident, and God forbid there won't be one, it's his race, but I think the places are up for grabs, and if we can finish in the first 3 or 4, we'll get our supplementary fee back.
Nicky's been very fortunate to train some really electric hurdlers. Binocular, I'm told, See You Then, who I think I was about -6 when he was winning his Champion Hurdlers. I'm told he was electric, but yeah, Bouvardere, the 8-15 favourite. Obviously, I think it's fair to say that all the panel think Bouvardere is the one to beat in the Champion Hurdle. That rounds off the big races in day one. But I just want to go down the line. Is there anything else, just quickly, that you want to mention on the first day? Dickie, we'll start with you.
In the mare's race, I think, Le Bagouard, I ride for Warren. She runs in this, I think, rather than the stayers. I think with the ground the way it is, I think it's going to be a test anyway over 2.5. And I think Apple's Jade is going to be favourite. And don't worry, she'll take a lot of beating. But I think if after her, I think I'd be disappointed if Le Bagouard wasn't second best in the race. And if something happened to the favourite, well, I think it's there to be had. And she's in great form. Scored her yesterday morning. I think she's a real improver as well. I think she's going the right way. So she's my best. I'd say my best ride on the first day.
Alan, anything else to flag up on the first day?
No, I think I'm pretty exhausted from there. No, nothing.
Yeah, I'm
That
not sure.
won't happen.
I'm not sure he's seen me, but I'm hosting. But anyway,
Ollie is the presenter, by the way.
But Emmett, you could.
And I'm not as tall as Ollie and not as good looking, unfortunately. A couple of mentions. I'd give a mention to York Hill in the Champion Hurdle. Look, we're probably playing for places, to be fair, but I spoke to Graham Wiley yesterday.
Wicklow Brave.
Oh, if he
I've been
jumps
hearing all
off.
sorts of things about him.
Yeah, the problem is, though, Nicky, if he doesn't get out of bed in the morning, you're screwed. And bookies won't
Willie
pay
to
it
get
back.
an alarm clock and...
Well, that's the problem. They've tried before, haven't they? Look, he's obviously very, very talented. And
Yeah.
Patrick had a fantastic day on him at Punchestown. I don't know. I think he's well found in the market now.
I mean, I think you're right. We've forgotten both York Hill and Wicklow Brave. They're very, very good horses in their own right.
Yeah.
York Hill in particular is hugely talented.
Yeah, the thing I admired about Graham, it's an interview on the Final Furlong podcast, which you can listen to. He gives me 50 minutes, well, he gives us 50 minutes of his time, which is really fantastic. But he just admitted, look, they've got him badly wrong. They thought he was a Gold Cup horse. They tried it. Then he travelled so well for a long way in that race. They thought, oh, maybe he's a 2-mile chaser. And he just didn't show up that day. And if you remember when he got beaten at Ferryhouse last year, when he ran halfway through Dublin City, Willie Mullins on the day said, God, maybe he's easier over hurdles. And Graham said that he's been adamant that, look, maybe he should be a hurdler, and they kind of fought him, Ruby and Graham kind of fought him away from it. So it's an awful lot to come back. I mean, Nicky and Alan would know an awful lot more about that than I would, but training a horse to go from fences to hurdles is not exactly the easiest of things to do in the world. But
well, ask Nicky, Boo-Boo did it?
Yeah, but at least he had a prep run over hurdles. York Hill will go in without a prep run over hurdles. So
who are we talking about at the moment?
York Hill.
Don't worry, we'll get to Yanworth in a moment.
He's yeah. And by the way, I've never ridden a racehorse. I have ridden show jumpers, but I'd give him a big chance. I think he could be a forgotten horse. No Comment is very interesting for JP in the 4-miler. He has loved that race in the past, and I think the best handicap novice chaser at the festival is probably Barney Dewan. Okay. If he runs in the last race in day one, get on.
Barney Dewan, that was. Thanks for the question. What we'll do, rather than questions day by day, what we'll do is at the end I'll just run around and get a couple of questions in. So if you do have any, think of them, and at the end I will come round into the audience and we'll put some questions to the panel. So that's the first day done and dusted. Let's turn our attentions to day 2. The RSA has Presenting Percy 5-2, Monolly 7-2. Arguably the story of the season is Black Corton for Paul Nicholls and Bryony Frost. Just a remarkable constitution for that horse to keep going for as long as he has, and to be a live contender, a serious contender in the RSA. Dickie, we'll start with you on this race. How do you see this one going?
I think I've done a couple of previews with Noel Feely, and he was quite shocked. And although I think him and Henry de Bromhead would like to see Monolly in the JLT. I think if it's very soft, there's still a small chance that I think he's been left in both races. But I think the owner's very keen to go for this race. But he's a very free-going horse, and it's going to be a run at a good, strong gallop if he runs in it. I think Presenting Percy is definitely the best horse in the race, but he's had some hard races this year.
It was a tough race at Gowram, wasn't it?
Yeah, and against Arduke. So that.
Boring.
Sorry.
And but yeah, if he's at his best, I think Presenting Percy is the right horse for the race. And for me, Black Corton's done nothing wrong at all. He's the best of the British, and I think probably because he started winning off in July or August in Worcester. I think even Paul Nicholls never thought that he'd be rocking up to the RSA full stop, let alone as one of the favourites. So, but he's done nothing wrong at all. He was very good at Ascot today, but again, I think for me, Presenting Percy is just the best horse. He's a previous festival winner as well.
Alan, you've got me as Storm in the race. Will she run in this?
No, it'll be too soft, Ollie, so we'll have to wait for entry with her. I think this is probably for export, this one, I think. As much as I love Black Corton, he's done really well, but he's been on the go a long, long time, and it'll be one of Paul's finest training performances if this can win the RSA, I think. She's been on a long time, and you would just hope that the form is. He's very consistent, but you would hope that something a little bit classier. Monelli, I love. Had a horrible fall at Christmas. Came back at Leopardstown the other week. Never missed a beat. I know they did finish in a little bit of a heat, but I know Noel absolutely adores this horse, and he'd be one for me. But I think this is going to go across the sea.
Who's it going to go to, Emmett?
I think it's going to go to Album Photo, actually. Funnily enough, it was pretty close behind Monelli last time out. Presenting Percy's obviously had a very similar campaign to last year, which resulted in that epic victory with Davy Russell then talking to you. Jesus, I have to apologise to Phil Smith. Oh, I thought I had no chance.
Are you good at impressions, Emmett?
Every now and again.
I should keep practising, I think.
Every now and again. Yeah, trust me, you don't want that. If you want your eardrums intact, you don't want that. The one thing I'd say about Presenting Percy is this is now Grade 1 company, and I don't know. I think he might have left it behind him at Gorn. That was a really tough race. That's 2 tough races, as you said yourself, back to back. I'd love to see Black Horton win for Bryony Frost, who is now a matchbook betting ambassador. That's 10% now that I've got up to. Thank you very much. So we're very much looking forward to working with Bryony and with Joseph O'Brien, and we'll have exclusive content. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. But unfortunately, only the one person said a round of applause. That's fine. But seriously, Bryony Frost has been a revelation, and so is Black Horton. I just don't think he quite has the class, but he could definitely be involved. Album Photo was right up them at Leopardstown, and I think he'll at least make the frame.
Okay, excellent stuff. That's the RSA Presenting Percy, the 5-2 favourite. We turn our attentions now to the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase, and Altior is the 8-11 market leader for Nicky. And Nico de Bonville will be on board. He is, of course, last year's Arkle winner. He is the Supreme Hurdle winner from the year before. He is going for his 3rd festival success, Nicky. He had a wind operation and then came back for a win. Is there something that a lot of people go on about the bounce factor? Is there a concern that he might bounce at Cheltenham?
I don't think he ought to. I mean, you need a long... It's those long layoffs that... he was ready for his first run. He was coming up... We were a fortnight off the Tingle Creek, and suddenly we had a peculiar little twerping noise that sort of required attention, and enough's been said about that. And he's had that done, and he's come back. He didn't have a lot of work done before Newbury. I will say the one thing his weight. It's one of the few clues we have. And I weighed him a sort of week before, and I thought, crikey, I hope you're not miles out. And he wasn't, actually. I was surprisingly how close to what we thought was his racing weight last year. So despite the fact he hadn't done a lot of he'd only done 3 bits of work, he was obviously fitter. He was fit going into the operation. And then he had 5 weeks box rest, which is boring. But I think at Newbury, it's because he's just a very good horse. He has class. We have to rely on him again. Everything's gone well. He's schooled great, and his work's been good, and it's all done. And now we've sort of just trusted. I would have said a year ago, and even at Newbury the other day, I didn't want to do it in soft ground. It doesn't help, but I think he's proved in the game spirit both last year and this year that he's still a good horse in soft ground. I think he's a better horse on good ground.
Where's his weight now?
I haven't asked him. I'll tell him to get on the scales in the morning. I don't need to know. I know he's fit now. If he's not, then I've got it very, very badly wrong.
But is he at home taking a big step forward from his run last time out?
Yeah, the funny thing is, having had the race under his belt, he hasn't really then needed to do a whole heap of work. Funny enough, for a horse that's actually, when he said he's had a wind operation, he is a very clean-winded horse. He's quite straightforward on that front. The only danger is that he's so ridiculously talented that you have to be careful that you've got to do plenty of work with him because his work is very, very easy.
You'll hate this question, but who, as you do most, I ask you, I think, but who would win, Sprinter or Altior, do you think?
Oh, unfair.
Oh. I think you could, I think we've said it all along. He's stepping towards filling probably the biggest shoes I've ever come across. and he's done absolutely nothing wrong so far. He's gone. Sprinter couldn't win the Supreme. He was third. AP rode him. And Godskey told me to give him a wind up. And he was probably right. We did him there and then. But Sprinter was a good novice hurdler and then was a great chaser. What Altior has done was actually remain unbeaten over hurdles and then unbeaten in his novice chase here. And now he has to win this and finish this year off as the champion before. I mean, and then he's still not there either. These are very, very big. Sprinter did have big feet. Altior he naturally hasn't got big feet, actually. But look, he's going the right way. He's got a lot of natural ability. But we have to see it all again, and it has to be done again. And this is why these are sort of jumpy days, really. I can remember what it was like when Sprinter was coming through this route. It's scary.
They're both wonderful horses that we've been so lucky to witness on a racecourse. So thank you to you and your team for all the work you've done with them. And we look forward to seeing Altior back in action on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Emmett, case for the defence. Can Min beat Altior?
Yes. Yes, he can. We finally get the rematch, Nicky. We finally get the rematch. So there was obviously that story about the fact that Min picked up an injury coming down the back, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the people who had the 50-1 got screwed over. Altior is a machine. He's absolutely fantastic. I know what Nicky's saying, and I think the point that Barry Geraghty made on the preview night with us on Monday was it's different to a horse being injured. He's had a breathing operation. It's not necessarily the same thing, but the trends boys will tell you. This is very, very difficult to do, but if any man can do it, Nicky can. He's an exceptional trainer, but he's short. And this is a championship race at Cheltenham, and you have to try and take chances. He's as short as 1.8, currently on matchbook, and Min is 4.5. Politolog is actually very interesting at 16.5 because he was let down for that race. So he needed that race quite badly. They eased off him an awful lot.
When did P. Nicholls' horses need a race?
Yeah. Or get let down.
Well, that's what Harry Derham told me. Harry Derham was on the podcast and he said, look, we let him down and he needed that run badly and he'll improve an awful lot from it. So, I don't know, maybe Harry Derham is talking absolute nonsense, but I don't think so. But look, to get back on point, Min... A lot of Willie's horses, for whatever reason, didn't run well at Leopardstown at Christmas time. The real Min stood up last time out. He absolutely buried them, and he buried them really impressively. Now, he was entitled to do so, but that was impressive. And I think for the first time, Altior's got a proper challenger on his hands. And please God, it's going to be a good race. But I think the value call is Min.
Alan, factoring in the improvement for Politolog from that run last time out.
I actually fancy Politolog. I think, if anything, God forbid anything happened to Altior, I would really fancy him to finish second or win it if something happened to the favourite. But, P. Nicholls' horses wanting her on, that is absolute bollocks.
So what you're saying on a live stream going out around the world is that Harry Derham talks absolute bollocks.
You said it, not me.
No, you did it. You just said it.
No, you quoted him. I'm saying P. Nicholls' horses do not need a run.
Dickie, will Min beat Altior?
I'm agreeing with Alan.
On what?
On what you were just talking about. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Look, Altior will win. I thought he was very impressive at Newbury. I don't know what Nicky thought, but I thought he probably got a little bit tired after jumping the ditch. Nicky was able to sit on him. And you need a really classy horse in that type of race to be able to, almost have a blow. And it came straight back on the bridle after 2 out, and he was very, very impressive. It wasn't like he was beating, no hopers. Politolog was second, won at Tingle Creek. He's the best other chaser in the country. So, for me, he's the best horse in the race. And I can't see how he's going to get beaten. For me, you're looking for something to finish second. Obviously, Min will handle the ground, but Min's form is not strong enough. Simply Ned is not good enough. And to beat him, for me, Special Tiara, obviously last year's winner, has got, again, if it was good ground, it'd be a massive difference, but he's got no chance on soft ground either.
Okay, just go down the line. Anything else on day 2 to flag up? Emmett, we'll start with you.
Oh, the bank of the meeting runs.
Go on.
In the best race, the cross country. We are 0% commission. Fill your boots and have as much as you want on Cause of Causes.
15%.
Absolutely loves Cheltenham, and he will win the cross country. One more to mention is Voida Rev for Graham Wiley in the Coral Cup. He's a big price. and he's got a serious chance. If you look back at his form from the last day, you'll say he's got no chance. He travelled really well in that race for a long, long way, and I think he's been lined up for that Foyder Rev in the Coral Cup.
Other races on the day, the Ballymore Novices, the Coral Cup, the Cross Country, as Emmett alluded to, the Fred Winter and the Champion Bumper. Nicky, anything else in those races to flag up?
No, we're going to switch OK Corral into he comes out of the Ballymore. Now, yes, there is one thing. On the blind side isn't going to, he's staying at home, which is a pity.
Sorry about that.
So there's...
Decision made about that today, is that right?
Yeah.
So no on the blind side in the Ballymore. Will we see him this season, do you
I
think?
hope so. Yeah, I do. I think I can't take a chance with him, and I think we'll see if we can get him back for entry, and I think we can. I mean, he's sore behind, and it's very frustrating. He's looked like a very good horse, and he would be a genuine second chance in here, I think, behind obviously what is deemed to be the banker of the meeting. But no, sadly, he's not going to be here. No, OK Corral won't run. He's being supplemented today for the Albert Bartlett, but we'll come on to that later on.
Okay, anything else day 2, Alan?
I mean, one of my Lisp in the Fred Winter I thought could run very well. He's a big price, and he won't mind the ground. He's 25 to 1, so each way he could have a bit of a chance, I hope.
And Dickie?
Yeah, we've got one in the bumper as well. Phillips, obviously Phillips had a very, very quiet winter. They haven't been on form by any stretch of the imagination, but he runs Crooks Peak in this. He won the bumper in November at Cheltenham on soft ground. The bumpers worked out really well. I think it was 10 runners that day. I think 7 of the 9 behind him have all won since. He's just a very straightforward horse, and I'd like to think that he would have probably improved from having a break as well. So I know the Irish always want to win or think they're going to win the bumper, but he's 25 to 1. I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't run a big race.
Big news here at Sandown on the blind side doesn't go in the Ballymore out of day 2. Disappointing. We wish him a speedy recovery, Nicky. Turning our attentions now to the 3rd day. The Ryanair is the race in question. Underso is the 5 to 4 market leader. There will be some cheer from his very loud owners if he was to win at the festival again, Emmett, won't there?
Oh, yeah, the O'Connells are a class act, as some might say. They're brilliant, and they drank Glanmire dry after he won last year, and why not? He didn't do himself any favours in the race, but he's looked to maybe to be actually finally starting to settle. Maybe he's finally starting to cop onto himself a little bit. It's a pity that the race has fallen apart in the way that it has, but the more rain that falls, the more this horse becomes an absolute stone cold certainty he wins.
Okay, we'll go down the line. Is Underso a banker, Dickie?
The only thing I'd say is I think Q-Card, I know he's getting old, but Underso's pretty old too. I thought Q-Card ran really well at Ascot. If he's come out of that race well, if it's very, very testing ground, there's one thing for sure, Q-Card's going to be staying just as well as Underso, and Underso is going to go a good strong gallop. I think Q-Card, obviously if it would be one of the results of the festival if he won, but I just think it was great to see him the other day at Ascot. He definitely looked like more like his old self.
Okay, we'll move on to the stairs hurdle because...
Ollie, just before you go, there was a few leaving at half-time, so you've obviously got rid of a few.
I actually did notice that, but it had less impact on how I felt, given that there was a slightly bigger crowd to begin with. But I hope they enjoyed the first day and a half of our preview. Sunbet Stayers Hurdle, Super Sunday 4 to 1 favourite, Sam Spinner 9 to 2, and Alan Yanworth is at 5 to 1. Just explain the reasoning behind switching him back to hurdles.
Good question. Good. I thought he had a very good chance of winning it, and the World Hurdle of Stairs is now worth an awful lot of money. On his handicap rating over fences, I could not possibly run him in the RSA off 149, so I would have to run him in the Ultima, and I thought, well, it's an easy choice to switch him back. He's won 2 chases this year, so we can go back intermediate next year and then go for the Hennessy. And I just want to have a crack at the stairs, and he's schooled beautifully over hurdles since. He'll love the ground, he gets the trip. It's up to him now.
I mean, Emmett touched on it, but are there any concerns about, I mean, I know Bouverdare's done it in the past, etc., but switching a horse from fences to hurdles?
No, we've done it. In the old days, I mean, we used to do it a lot. I mean, Gordon Richards was a master with those old chasers. I mean, he used to fire them over hurdles and then back over fences round Haydock and back again. And no, I think a lot of horses actually quite enjoy it. And Yanworths love being back over hurdles at home, I can tell you that.
Nicky?
Well, talk about it. Lammy Surge now is going to run in the Stayers Hurdle.
Okay.
This morning we schooled him over fences because my advice...
That tells you enough.
Because they decided we were going to run him into Ryanair. You can do both things with this horse. So 2 days ago he schooled over hurdles because I've always been trying to go for this race with him. And then all of a sudden I get a message, and Ant knows them well. They are lovely. But the manager can change his mind quite rapidly.
Hang on.
Probably you're not in this room,
Nicky.
are you?
Hang
no.
on. I'm a
Hi,
bit...
Ant.
Paging Anthony.
Anyway, last night we're coming into the Ryanair with Lammy. Now I can see the point. You're really coming down to.
So Lammy Surge is running in the Ryanair?
No, we schooled him over
Sorry.
fences this morning
Right.
to get him ready for the Ryanair.
And he
and
fell.
since when we decided, no, he didn't.
He ran towards the hurdles.
He jumped really
sorry,
well.
I'm
but
lost.
I arrived at the races to be told, no, we made our mind up, we're going to run to the Stayers. So if you never know, so how to confuse a horse? Yeah, correcto. How to confuse a trainer? Completely and utterly.
Yeah.
Jockey hasn't got a clue. My lads are going, what in the world are you all doing?
How to confuse a presenter
Anyway,
of a preview.
the news
like
is
this,
now, as of tonight, but I mean, having said that, this will change tomorrow, he's going to run in this, not the Ryanair.
Okay. So breaking news here. Lammy Surge runs in the Cesarowicz on the flat.
He did win. He'd win that. But the only thing you have to say about Lammy, the most confusing thing is the trainer, because last year we ran him in the county hurdle over 2 miles, and he got beaten a nose. So we thought it was a very good try. Then we brought him then we went to Aintree and he finished second. Then we went to Scotland and finished second. Then we came to Sandown here on the last day of a 2 mile 5 because we had nowhere else to go, and he ran away with Darrell the whole way. So then we went to France and ran him 2 mile 5 in the Prix Barker, which is the prep for the French champion hurdle over 2.5, and he finished second to York Hill. And then, we got nothing else to do. We'll run him in the French champion hurdle, which ironically to the English is over 3 mile 1 in heavy ground. And here is a horse that I've just run over 2 miles at Cheltenham. We now go 3 mile 1 round Auteuil in a bog. And guess what happens? We win. Then we planned this whole thing for a year, and then this morning they changed their mind and we're going to run in the Ryanair. I said, hang on a minute, we decided a year ago we're going to run in the Stayers, which we are going to run in as of now.
It'll change in the morning, though.
It will change in the morning. He'll probably be supplemented for the bumper, I don't know.
Well, I'm glad that cleared that one up. Alan, just getting back to Yanworth, who do you rate as your main danger in the race?
I think it's a very
Surge.
strong renewal. No, because I thought he was running in the Ryanair, but never mind. No, I mean, Sam Spinner, he's been very impressive all year. And listen, if I can't win it, I would be so delighted for Jed O'Keefe, who's a thoroughly good guy, and that would be a great result. But there's a lot of debt. Super Sunday, we've got form with him in the past. He beat Yanworth in a bumper at Ascot many years ago. We managed to turn the tables at Aintree last year. There won't be much between them. I just thought he looked so good over 2 miles the other day, Super Sunday. Does he really want to slog in 3 miles on testing ground? The new one, he's got to be right in the mix as well, surely. I thought for a while he's been crying out for a bit farther. He loves Cheltenham. It's a really, it might not be a vintage, it might not be an outstanding horse, but it's a very strong renewal. There's depth in it. So I think it's one of the races of the meeting, actually. Yeah, agreed. Of all the championship races, it is the most competitive. Dickie, what are your views on it?
I've just been really impressed with Sam Spinner. I think he's at Ascot. He just, he didn't. Too fair to Joe Colliver, he saw on the big screen after last. He wasn't that hard on him. I think he comes here a fresh horse. He loves soft ground. He looks to be an improving horse. I don't think Super Sunday will stay. I think Yanworth and the new one, Alan just said, I think they're the two sort of benchmarks. But I think Sam Spinner could, he could be very impressive, and I think the conditions are going to suit him. I was actually more worried about when it was going to be dry for his chances, but I think the way it looks now, for me, he should be favourite for the race. If he was trained by a William Mullins or a Alan or Nicky, he would be favourite. Unfortunately, because Jed O'Keefe hasn't got many horses, that's why he's the price he is. So I think he's good value.
Emma, a very quick line from you on the Stayers hurdle.
It's a nightmare to try and pick the winner, so I'll tilt at one at a big price. I'll go for Augusta Kate.
Augusta Kate for Willie Mullins, who is 40 to 1 on the screen behind us.
And even bigger on Matchbook, or a 0% commission.
Okay, so we will turn our attentions to the final day in a moment. But just very quickly, anything else on day 3 to mention? We'll go down the line. Dickie, we'll start with you.
No, I think we've mentioned everything.
Okay, Alan, anything else?
No.
Nicky?
Sorry.
What did you ask?
Sorry, the Patemps, I forgot, is on that day. Louis Vacpatch runs in the Patemps. I think he's got a great chance if he can cope with the atmosphere of the day. He's quite a young horse. He's quite highly strung. If you want to back him, I'd back him in running. He'll still be the same price. He's second favourite at the moment. I think once I've done a circuit, if he's relaxed and jumping nicely, he's got a great chance. It's just whether the whole atmosphere of Cheltenham, which is a massive day for any horse, but if he boils over, that his chance will be gone, unfortunately.
I was when he first ran, he came on Racing UK, and you had to read the runners and riders out, and I was trying to be clever. I thought it was French, so I called him Louis Vapouche. But the reason he's called that is because the owner owns a vacuum company.
Yeah, they vacuum pack meat, I think. So yeah, I think he's from Liverpool or Manchester. So yeah, there's nothing French there.
It wasn't as bad as Ride It Like You Stole It, who I pronounced Ride It Like a Toilet when I saw that. So, we've had a few shockers in our time. Okay, let's turn our attentions to the Triumph Hurdle. Nicky's got the favourite at 3 to 1, Apple Shakira. Alan has the second favourite in Rhodesian. So, much like Anthony Joshua against Parker, let's have a bit of a ding-dong here. Who's going to win? Nicky, make your case for Apple Shakira.
We have a dream.
We have a dream to win it. 10 to 1. Do you think we... Seriously, do you think we...
He hasn't gone out to 10 to 1.
He's 10 to 1 on the board there.
He is, yeah.
Do you think we have a dream will win the Triumph?
There's not a lot between the two, I'll tell you that.
Right, interesting. There's a 7-point disparity between the two in the market, but not a
No,
lot.
she's great. She's been a lovely finish. She doesn't know that there's another race course. She's had 3 runs, and all 3 have been at Cheltenham. My only chance is that Kingy's horse doesn't know there's another one other than Kempton. So,
Just 1 second. We'll take questions at the end.
We'll find out.
at the end.
She loves it. She's a full sister to Apple's Jade, and she's the most gorgeous filly. She's lovely. She gets the allowance. She's done nothing wrong. She's been in soft ground. I think she wants better ground. Just to beware. I think We Have a Dream is still a very, very good horse. They're both unbeaten. And they come in here, I've got to say, I couldn't be happier, so listen. I think, to be very fair, I do not think this is a good crop of juveniles. I'm sort of told that I don't think Ireland are terribly strong, but we're about to be told there's some things in there.
No, you're right.
I genuinely think, actually, this should be between the... I think Kingy's horse is what we've got to beat, and he's looked very good round Kempton the other day. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Interesting comments about We Have a Dream from Nicky there. Alan, you've had a terrific record with juveniles throughout your career. I know that you hold Rhodesian in very high esteem. How good do you think he is comparatively to some of your good Triumph Hurdle horses in the past?
Well, it's difficult at this stage of the year. You've got to go and still do it. But he certainly he showed me plenty of gears at home and on the track. So in that respect, he reminded me a little bit of Penzance. And Penzance had 3 runs before the Triumph, and he'd gone round Taunton, Huntingdon and Kempton. This fella, and I haven't deliberately gone Kempton every time. It was just that's how the thing panned out. We didn't get him till.
There's a good race at Kempton over in July.
But we didn't get him till late on, and then he was gelded, so he was only just later on at Christmas, and the whole thing has panned out. He got a 1.6 on the flat at Redcar. I don't think stamina's an issue. He seems to be able to quicken up of a pace. I can't see Cheltenham being an issue there. I mean, if it comes up very, very... I'd love to see better ground. I do think he's a better horse and better ground. He has won on heavy, but I think the more testing it is, I think the more it's going to favour Nicky's mare. I mean, she's looked very good, and she's been round there. But look, we're happy. I've no issues with the fact he hasn't been round the course. We'll see what happens. It could be a very strange run race. I mean, the Mullins filly, I mean, she won by, I think, 58 lengths at Christmas.
Stormy Island.
Yeah. And, I mean, Willie says she's a complete lunatic. She's only got one way of running. So she's going to go off $1 million. And it could make it quite a difficult race for the other jocks to ride. And, you know, we'll have to see. I hate it when something goes miles clear, because there's always the worry they don't come back.
Mm. Okay, that's the Triumph Hurdle, a fascinating race. Best of luck to both Nicky and Alan with their runners. It's time for the big one, the blue ribbon event of the week, the Cheltenham Gold Cup, where Nicky has the favourite in Might Bite at 100 to 30. Just before we started this preview, there was an article on the Racing Post where I believe, Nicky, you were saying you're a bit concerned about soft ground for Might Bite. How much of a worry is it for you if it is a soft ground Gold Cup with regards to your King George winner's chances?
Well, the good thing you know about Might Bite is you never know which sort of course he's going to go on. So where he goes, it could be fantastic ground. He plots his own course. We'll go where he wants to go, and it could be anywhere.
Champagne Bar's got good ground.
Champagne Bar has very good ground. He'll be in there. No,
I just hope he stops in there.
I think things have changed quite a bit with this horse. I mean, I think he does. The first admit, the better the ground, the happier I will be, and I suspect the happier he will be. The rest of it's been very good, to be fair. He hasn't run since Kempton. That was on purpose. I think he needs to be fresh. He needs to have his mind in the right sort of place. And I don't mean that sort of for his idiosyncrasies where he might do silly things. He's just that sort of horse. I mean, Alan would know he's by Scorpion. That's why he's got something to do with Might Bite. And you just want to be quite careful with them. But I think this is the way he wants to be. He's fresh, he's well. His work was very, very good this morning. His schooling was good. If anything, he frightens me a little bit that he's sort of improved to he's pacier than he used to be. And he used to sort of kill races by going on a long way out. I think if anybody was disappointed with or didn't quite see the best side of him, it Kempton. I think when he had to go and took on Bristol to buy a long way out, and then they had quite a good duel over 3 fences, and he saw that duel off, and then he had to fill up and start another battle if anybody came at him. And I couldn't fault him at Kempton. I thought he was great.
Does he definitely stay the Gold Cup trip?
We have no idea, and I had no intention whatsoever of running into the Cotswold Chase, because that trip and that ground at that time of the year would have been exactly the wrong thing not to do, and it's why we avoided the Betfair Chase earlier on in the year. We were never after the bonus. We were always after the King George, and the King George only to start with. And I'm glad we took that route. And now the next leg has been to come here. Does he stay? We don't know. If you could do what he did last year, is actually come to a nearly complete point standstill and get going again and win over 3 miles up that hill, I can't think that an extra furlong and a half is going to hold a lot of terrors.
How are you going to stop him wandering around? He did it in 2015 in a hurdle. He did it in the RSA last year. It's by the stables, isn't it, where he comes out? He sort of wants to head back there. Have you got a plan in place to stop him doing that?
Yeah.
And what is that plan, Nicky?
You might find me stood in the middle of the race course, but I mean...
Just mind he doesn't mow you down, Nicky.
And the really good news that a great friend of both Alan's and mine, David Minton, he's a part holder of this horse as well, and he's quite a lot bigger than both of us. If we put him in there, we've got a bloody good chance of keeping him straight.
Richard, you ride Native River. Will you be? Are you expecting to pass Nicky Henderson on the running in front on your horse? He obviously came back for an impressive victory last time out. There is a statistic, though, a negative statistic with regards to beaten horses in the Gold Cup. of the last 66 who have been beaten in it and then come back the following year, none have won. Does that concern you?
Not many winners win either, Ollie, so...
Well, but that's the point. It is such a brutal race. Obviously, we lost Sizing John this week. Does that worry you, that he wasn't able to win it last year?
Well, I was disappointed he didn't win last year, but I think last year he had the Hennessy was his big target. Then obviously went to the Welsh National. Then he won the Denman Chase. And then he went to Cheltenham and still finished third, ran really well, beaten 2.5 lengths. And, not Tizard's horses, they were in amazing form all season last year, and then they had a really quiet time over Cheltenham, and they came back to form for Aintree. And unfortunately, with animals, they do sometimes have lulls. But he had a very hard season, and that he was always doing well. But I think this year, almost not by design, but because he didn't run till Newbury, a little bit like Altior, I think he was a perfect prep run for him. He came out of it really well. I can't see how it could be a bad thing. He goes there a fresh horse, and I think Mike Bite, he deserves to be favourite. He won the King George. He's last year's festival winner. He's done nothing wrong on the form book, but obviously we all know that he's got quirks. And for me, I know Nicky knows more than I do, but I think again if we get all this rain and it's proper soft ground, 3 mile 2, he looks like he's quite a quick. He's very sharp. Whether he's you've seen horses before like Florida Pearl, One Man, didn't quite get up the hill. For me, that's my native winner, won a Welsh National with 3 mile 5 with top weight. He'll keep going to the stable yard and back. So for me that's my strength, and Mike Bite.
You would just like to stay on our right, wouldn't you?
You'll be in the Arkle bar as well, Nicky.
I might come and see you. But I think, look, it's a fascinating race. I think, look, there's a few of, I always thought, last year's winner, he was sort of the one we were most worried about. It's obviously disappointed he's missing the race, but with the ground conditions, it is in our favour this year, and there's no excuses if we can't win.
And we won't expect to see Colin in the middle of the track either, will we?
No, hopefully he can just cheer him on from the stands.
Dragging me off it.
Alan, who do you think wins the Gold Cup?
Well, I think it's going to be a slog. I think the classiest horse in the race, without doubt, is Mike Bite. But does he want 3.25 miles? And I have the big issue that there aren't many race courses where the exit, as you've mentioned, is before the winning line. Most of them are after the winning line. Mike Bite knows where it is. Fontwell is there, and obviously Cheltenham. He's done it twice, and I just think if he's getting to the end of the tether, which he will be in a Gold Cup jump in the last, he's going to know the quickest way to the winner's enclosure, but he has to realise he has to pass the winning line first. And I
pass
do
the winning line, come back down and go out
worry.
before even Dickie's got a chance of passing it.
I have no doubt he's the best horse in the race, but I would be very nervous punting him to, Richard's horse, we mentioned the bounce factor with Altior. I watched the 2 races at Newbury the week. Altior, to me, didn't have a hard race, and it was only 2 miles. I thought Native River did have a hardish race, and he knew he'd had a run. I could easily see him bouncing here. So I'm going to look for something that we know is going to stay and will handle the ground, and I put 2 up at big prices, definitely Red. Can't see him being out the frame. And Ed Wolf. He was a very impressive winner the other day, because I watched him his first run back, and he travelled very well for a long way, and then Derek O'Connor whipped him up 3 out, pulled him up. That was enough. If you watch the Leopardstown race again, he was cantering throughout that, turning in, and all right, he might have been lucky to win the horse of Willie's fell at last, but the improvement from race 1 to 2 I thought was huge. I would imagine he's improved again. And at 25 to 1 or whatever, Ed Wolf, and he'll get the trip. They must get the trip, and particularly next week. This is going to be a thorough slog in the Gold Cup, and it's not always the classiest or the best horse that wins it.
Emmett?
Copy and paste an awful lot of what Alan said there. I think he's nailed it. Mike Bite's the classiest horse in the race without question, but if you are going to be a big-time Charlie in the Champagne tent on Gold Cup Day, sorry Nicky, hold off on buying the Bolliger and the Moet, because he could come flying through the Champagne tent towards the end of this race. So just hold off and then buy it afterwards. Look, he's a very classy horse, but it's a really good point that Alan's made. It's not once he's done it; it's a couple of times. So you got to be concerned. And Edwulf is the horse that I have just really fallen for here. He was going to be booked for second in the 4-miler last year when he was a proper JP-style gamble. And then he had that awful incident happen to him. Joseph O'Brien has been added to Matchbook as a racing ambassador, and he's joined us for the season, which we're very, very pleased with. And I was down in Owning Hill on Monday and got to see the stable, and more importantly, got to see Edwulf. And he is a monster, and he's got a lovely temperament about him. He's a fine horse, and it's a testament to everybody involved that the horse is alive today, but he's improved. And that performance, exactly as Alan said, he travelled very well at Christmas time when he was a big price and just blew up towards the end, and he was creeping into it steadily and steadily, and I think he actually would have won if Golotovic had stood up anyway. He's a dour stare, he's a classy horse, and he's a huge price. You can get, I think it's 29.0 on Matchbook if you want to go each way, and that's what you should be doing, looking for a big price.
Go quick before JP gets stuck in though, boys, you know.
Yeah, it could be well gone at that stage. Derek O'Connor's going to ride, and he gets on tremendously well with him. He's got a huge chance. Edwulf he'd be the story of the meeting. I think he's going to run a big race.
He absolutely would. Remarkable story last year, and to see him win last time out was fantastic. It would be a phenomenal achievement if he was to win a Gold Cup. I'm going to ask the panel now, before we get a couple of questions from the audience, for their banker of the meeting, their best bet or their strongest fancy. Richard, who is your best chance of a festival winner in 2018?
Sorry, just to cut across you, but just before you give your best bet, what we'll do is we'll give 200 quid to everybody, including you, Ollie, and we'll put it up as a charity bet, so you can choose your own charity, and we'll hopefully send the winnings to them.
Excellent, thank you very much.
If I'm going for a charity bet, I think Sam Spinner, I think he's a massive price, and I think he'll win the stairs.
Alan?
Underso.
In the Ryanair. Nicky?
I'm going to defeat you. I'm going to go each way. Is it each way?
You can have win in place, yeah.
I'm going to have a little bit each way on Burbank in the Coral.
Ooh. Everybody's taking notes.
I love that.
But there is another one in there.
Oh, for God's sakes!
There's always another one.
Go on, I'm going to have Burbank in the Coral.
So Burbank in the Coral for Nicky. I would have put up Foy de Rev, but now I'm afraid to. Cause of Causes in the cross country.
Cause of Causes in the cross country. I'm going to go for Rock the World, actually, in the Grand Annual. Last year's winner in the race at a big price for Jesse Harrington, £6 higher, now owned by JP McManus. And he finished third and first in the race. Festival form is important. He is my charity bet. I'll have £100 each way. That's very kind of you and the team at Matchbook for giving us that, and we will tell you our charities later on. So that concludes the preview, but we do have time just for a couple of questions. It's been a long day for Nicky, Alan and Richard, so we'll go there first.
And me, I was up at 5 o'clock this morning.
You've been in the box all day, Emma, don't lie.
Don't ruin the illusion.
Yes, sir. Jackadam, what do you think his ideal distance is? He's been placed in lots of Gold Cups.
As somebody who's lost his nuts on Jackadam for the last 3 years, convinced that he'd be a Gold Cup horse. I'd be fascinated if they did decide to go for the Ryanair. It would make me slightly worried about Underso. I think they'll go for the Gold Cup. Willie wants to win it. He badly wants to win it. And the thing is, if he did a Vautour and won the Ryanair impressively, they'd feel sick. He'll come on an awful lot for that run of the Irish Gold Cup, and he's too big a price now. Don't forget, he went off favourite last year, and he's still only 9.
One more question at the back. We'll have 2 more questions. We'll go there afterwards. But you, sir?
Ask Nicky about Sugar Baron, please, for the Kinmure.
Sugar Baron and the Kinmure.
Yeah, he's quite a hard... Katie Walsh is going to ride him. He'll have quite a lot more than blinkers on him. He's very good. You've probably seen him here in a lot of races. He comes from nowhere and finishes very strongly. You could say that this is a good sort of race for him. He's in good form. She's going to ride him. She's as good as amateur as you'll find anywhere. Yeah, he's one of our big chances of the week in a handicap, but he's not a horse I'd want to trust in my life, I must admit.
Katie's trusting her life, in fairness.
Well, I'd trust her more than I would Sugar Baron, but we'll see. He's got a good chance.
Final question there, sir. Do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, Richard. It was On day 2, you mentioned there was 2 at the end there. One was Crook's Peak. I missed the name of the other one. Second day.
On the second day.
Any other fancies you said?
Bumper?
Yeah, that was Crook speaking
Oh,
the bumper. La Baguoire on the first day, it was in the mares race. Oh, Louis Vac Pouch on the Thursday in the Pretemps. But it's definitely you'd want to wait to see how he's coping with the whole atmosphere of the meeting.
Good stuff. Well, thanks to everyone who's tuned in on Facebook. Thank you all so much for coming. If you can, we'll go down the line. Please just put your hands together for champion jockey Richard Johnson. We wish him all the best next week at Cheltenham. Native River, his big ride in the Gold Cup. Emmett Kennedy from Matchbook, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be on ITV's coverage next week. Some real gems, as always, from a multiple festival winning trainer. Trains the favourite in 3 of the championship races next week. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicky, Henderson. And because he got the loudest cheer of the night, this piece of paper, he's put his karaoke song of choice in. It's I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan King. Take it away, Alan. Thank you all. Good luck at the festival. We'll see you soon.